Welcome to this session where we'll cover the operation and uptime of the PureBallast system throughout the lifetime of a vessel. And for that, I've invited some guests. Jonas Alvan, who's responsible for customer support, PureBallast, welcome. Jesper Boman, who's responsible for service, PureBallast. And last but not least, Jonas Öst, who is one of our more experienced service engineers working on the field with PureBallast. Welcome. So they will share experience and learnings with respect to training, spare parts, service and sampling, and also explain a little bit how Alfalaval can support in case service or parts are needed to make sure that you can focus on operating the vessel, running the business. So we're now in what we call the performance assurance phase, where we have done successful engineering, installation and commissioning of the vessel. So it's now time to operate the vessel, start running it, both and also the PureBallast system. And both US Coast Guard and IMO, they have a very clear view on this. And they make very clear that lack of consumables, training or operation experience is not an excuse for non-compliance. So if we start with training, Jonas, if you would describe training both in terms of content, but also format, what is important from your point of view?
First, I think we should look at the need for training and why do we need to give a training at all. Ballast water treatment system is a quite new equipment on board the vessel. We have had separators installed, Alfalaval separators, for 100 years on board ships, and this is something that the ship crew and service people that are working in the marine business are educated in from school, but not for the ballast water treatment system. For the ballast water treatment system, it's rather about being compliant, of course. It's not only about operating the system, push a button, might be easy, but you also need to avoid contamination and need to know how to integrate the system in the vessel and how the ballast water management plan shall be considered and read. It's also about uptime. You want to be able to operate your system, of course. And then it's about OPEX, keeping the operational costs at a decent level, and last but absolutely not least, safety. Not for PureBallast system, but for many other systems, there are active substances. There might be additional chemicals, and special care need to be taken to handle these chemicals, because it can be health issues for the crew or actually accidents that can be happening as well. So that's a little bit about the background, and I think, Jonas, you have been out on many vessels. Is there a real need for a training for the crew?
Yeah, well, it differs a lot. When I come on board on vessel, it can be for troubleshooting or just maintenance. We always try to give training to the crew, not only for the engineers down in the engine room, but also for the officers on the bridge that are running ballasting operations. Yeah, and it's we can see training is needed. Normally on commissioning, you have a limited time, so you can't give the training on straight away on commissioning.
Mm-hmm. So that's one issue after the system is installed. The vessel is leaving quite soon from the repair shipyard, which means that the time is not there, and the crew has other things to attend to. So what we are doing is that we are looking in a broad perspective. So we have starting crew training centers. We have one in Mumbai, one in Manila, one in Houston, and we are actually sitting in our test and training center here in Stockholm. And there are some work ongoing. That's why it's a little bit noisy here.
Even though we could borrow it for this occasion.
Yeah, we could borrow it for this occasion, exactly. So we have these crew training centers, but we also have a computer-based training with our CBT in order for the crew to learn, get familiar with the system, know what the ballast water issue is about, and also how to operate the PureBallast system.
And CBT is computer-based training?
Computer-based training, yeah. So this is a simulator that can be run on your computer, on board the vessel or at an office whenever you feel that you have the time and want to learn more, because learning and knowledge is something that you need to refresh over time. It's not enough to learn it once. The seafarers are perhaps working 3 months on, and then they get off and then forget about certain things. So you need to refresh. And the fourth part then is also that we are developing training videos with the service engineers like Jonas in order to show how to operate and how to make the basic maintenance of the system. So it should be easier for the crew.
Very good. So training, key part for sure.
Yes.
And apart from that, there are other frameworks, I would say, that play a key role for the crew and also for the ship operator or for the customer to relate to. Could you dig a little bit into that?
Firstly, we have the manufacturer's periodic maintenance schedule, where there are certain things with the system that should be checked on a regular basis. It can be cleaning the filter, or it can be checking all the components that they are working according to the expectations. And this is something, Jonas, you've been on board a lot of vessels. Is this something that is performed by the crew, and which issues do you see when you are attending a vessel?
Well, I think Alfalaval delivered the first ballast treatment system more than 10 years ago, and some of the system has not been in operation. So we can see on some older system, it can look like this. We have a salt scaling because of salt water has been in standstill in the reactor for a longer time.
And they have not performed the CIP cleaning then?
Yeah, exactly. And it can also be valves that are stuck, or simply that the crew needs to get training. Yeah.
But regarding CIP cleaning, we actually have a very good movie. Maybe we can show that.
I think this is a good opportunity, because then we'll also explain a little bit more about the mechanics behind the scaling and different ways to handle it. Yeah. So let's take a few minutes and look at that, and we'll be back again.
UV systems like Alfalaval PureBallast 3 are increasingly the choice for ballast water treatment. UV is simple, chemical-free, and poses no risk of corrosion to the ballast water tanks. But seawater itself is an unfriendly environment. Key components, whether it's the TRO sensors of electrochlorination systems or the lamp sleeves and UVI sensors of UV systems, are at risk of scaling and fouling. Those problems will keep any system from performing at its peak. In a UV ballast water treatment system, the quartz sleeves protect the UV lamps in the reactor. The lamps are paired with UVI sensors, which measure the amount of UV light that passes through the seawater. If fouling or scaling occurs on either of these components, it can block the transmission of light and impact your compliance. That's where cleaning comes in. Cleaning can be handled in several ways, but the time and resources those methods require can be very different. One option is manual cleaning by the crew. With up to 50 lamp sleeves in a UV reactor, that will take time, and the sleeves may be damaged, broken, or poorly reinstalled. All that labour, plus the replacements due to a shorter sleeve lifespan, will cost you money. Mechanical wipers are a better choice. They allow cleaning to be automated, which removes the risk of human error. But even wipers have their issues. Because they're mechanical, wipers have parts that will wear and break, and if sand or grit gets beneath them, it can scratch the sleeves and degrade the performance they're meant to protect. So again, you pay, both in the cleaning process and through additional sleeve replacements. The best solution is the one used by Alfalaval PureBallast 3, automated cleaning in place. After each ballasting and deballasting cycle, PureBallast 3 pumps a gentle cleaning fluid into the UV reactor. Made from a light citric acid, the fluid is biodegradable and completely safe to drain overboard. Once cleaning is complete, the reactor fills with fresh water until it's needed again. Unlike other methods, cleaning in place cleans not just the sleeves and sensors, but the entire reactor. And since there are no chemicals, no manual operations, and no mechanical parts, it involves no risk to your PureBallast 3 system. You can be sure of consistent like-new treatment performance no matter where you sail. That market-leading performance is why so many choose PureBallast 3 in the first place. To learn more about PureBallast 3 and Alfalaval's total solutions in ballast water treatment, visit the PureBallast website.
So now we're back. I hope you enjoyed the movie as much as I did. I was missing the popcorn.
Yeah, it was a very good movie. Thank you.
It was a good movie opportunity. So, which are the other parts in the framework that you, apart from the maker's regular maintenance schedule?
Yeah, the next one is the sampling that shall be performed on regular basis. And here we start getting into the difficulties with the legislation, because there are different demands from IMO and US Coast Guard, and it can be other local demands as well. But for US Coast Guard, they state that during the first year there should be 2 samplings performed, and then if they are compliant, it can be done annually after that. For IMO, has been discussion and decision made on MEPC that there should be a compliance test during commissioning. So that's the legislation as today.
And this commissioning compliance test, it's decided, but is it also finalized, the framework for it?
It's decided that it shall be done, but not exactly how it shall be performed. So this is work that is ongoing.
Okay. Work in progress.
Work in progress.
Very good.
And then we have the third, and that's a calibration check. There are sensors on board the vessel, and these sensors has to be checked on a regular basis, and that's something that Jonas, for example, can do as well to assist the customers.
So I think these are 3 areas together with training then that are key for having uptime of the vessel and also to have a compliant system on board.
Yeah, you don't have any use for a system that is not working and is not compliant. I mean, that's the reason why the ballast water treatment system is installed on board.
And I think, if you agree with me, but typically feedback that we get is that the crew gets smaller on board the vessels, but they still get more to do. You have new equipment like PureBallast or ballast water treatment systems coming on board. So time can be a challenge, and also being a compliance product, of course, the maintenance and all this calibration sampling is very important. Jesper, could you describe a little bit about the portfolio that we have?
Good that you asked, Håkan. In our product portfolio, we have something that we call a compliance package that actually helps out with the things that Jonas mentioned. We do audit performance, checking that everything is working well. We do onboard crew training. We do water sampling, but we also do calibration, as Jonas mentioned. So calibration of pressure sensor, UV sensor, and so on. Actually, Jonas, maybe you can show a little bit what you do on board when we do the calibration.
Yeah, well, for example, for the UV sensor, it needs to be replaced and recalibrated every second year for the IMO systems and every year for the US Coast Guard systems. But for the pressure transmitters and temperature transmitter, and also for the flow meter on board, we have kits like this that we send out to the service engineers, and we can do a calibration check on board. Yeah.
I mean, that is all in this compliance package, which actually gives the customers a peace of mind.
So it actually covers all the 3, or actually 4 points that Jonas mentioned, including training.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we can perform training, and Jonas can do at a specific point where hopefully the crew is not that busy as after the installation of the system. Hopefully they have a little bit more time to attend. And it's of course good to get training on their own system on board the ship.
We talked a little bit about training already, but Jonas, you're also responsible for training for setup for service engineers. I would say that we have 2 things ahead of us. One is ramp up, where you have a relatively large amount of vessels that in a short period of time that need to install a system. And of course, as a maker, you need to ramp up to match this, but also make sure that they have the training. We already said it's important for the ship owner or for the customer, but I guess it's equally important. So how do we ensure that we have the people needed? We have the global coverage, because this shipping is global.
I would like to handle that over to Jesper. He's the service manager.
Yes.
So.
No, but I mean, what we have within Alfalaval, we have the infrastructure to actually support our customers. As you mentioned, I mean, the marine business is global. So within Alfalaval, we have International Marine Service. That is a global network of service engineers that can perform the services that we just talked about, but much more as well. What you actually get then is also 24/7 technical help desk that we also have. And I mean, the key here is actually the service engineers, but we have them globally. So I mean, happy days for the customers.
Very good. But maybe I should challenge you on that then. Sure. Not happy customers, but do we really need to send someone?
No, I mean, if we look at our digital journey that we do with Industrial 4.0, where we actually hook up and connecting vessels, we actually get live data from the equipment, and by that we can actually have that as our first line of defense for service engineers, checking the data. And hopefully then we can actually do the first troubleshooting, and maybe we can avoid to actually send a service engineer on board and give some feedback to the crew. Right now we have 60 vessels connected for PureBallast, but even more vessels with other of the classic assortment. So that's a journey that's really interesting actually.
We will need service engineers as well, Jonas, so don't worry, but
Definitely.
this is going into the future.
Yeah, but I think we are coming to a point where I need to say thank you, but for me personally, I think that the ability to connect the Alfalaval equipment open up a lot of opportunities and services for our customers. Yes. So I'm very much looking forward to learn more about that in other forums. But I would like to thank you. We have in a limited time covered a very broad and important topic on different factors that you need to relate to make sure that the crew can operate the system, maintain it, and also the other things that are stipulated by US Coast Guard IMO in terms of sampling and calibration. So thank you. We will now leave to answer possible questions from you that have been looking at this. But please look out for other webinars coming from Alfalaval Marine, and also feel free to give feedback on topics that you would like to discuss. But now it's time for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.